we're live, but in a different perspective. Ooh. What is that? That's Dr. Gurari's elusive second screen. That's right, today we're going to learn about what to do when you have nothing to do because your point of contact hasn't gotten back to you yet. What to do when your point of contact hasn't gotten back to you yet. You have a rough idea of where you're supposed to be going with these projects, but you have no details yet, and it might be a while before you get any. You should still start making some progress, and hopefully you have something that you can use and bring to the customer. So, what should you be working on this week? Today, for example, what should you spend your class period working on today? Wait for a couple more people to pour in. Let's just make that a chat question. What should you work on today? What should you do? What was your plan? Let's say I gave you, without any further instruction, the next hour and 10 minutes to work on your project. What would you do at that time? And then honesty poll. Not even going to make it a poll because I know the answer. How long have you spent working on it outside of class so far? The answer is probably 0. That's alright, you don't have much to do yet. But just remember, it's expected that you make good progress every week. So some suggestions are, with what little info you have, try to create a basic idea of the program. That's good. Make modules and whatnot. It's good to try sketching it out. Just remember that prematurely architecturing the whole thing is how it used to be done. Waterfall model. Not that common in today's agile environment to sketch out all the modules and how it's going to look. Right? Because it usually doesn't turn out as cleanly as you expect, especially when you're not sure about requirements yet. Someone answered, ask if there was a response yet, if not panic. Unfortunately, the university opens on Labor Day weekend, and every good God-fearing American grills on Labor Day. Of course, if you didn't grill, go back to Cuba or wherever you come from. Come on. It's America. It doesn't matter if it's thunderstorming. But anyway, almost everybody had the day off on Monday. And a lot of people also decided to use up their vacation to get a long weekend. That means they might have taken Friday, Tuesday, or both in order to give themselves a super long weekend. So if you haven't gotten an answer yet, it might be because someone took a super long weekend. That might also mean your email's buried under 500 others. So you might want to consider, if you haven't gotten a response yet, to give it a bump. If you're not already aware of it, the scheduled send feature is a godsend. Use the scheduled send feature in order to send an email later. This is something I think only Gmail has of the major email clients, but next to send, there's a drop-down you can press. You can schedule an email to be sent at a later time. It's great for people who are never awake at 7 in the morning but want to seem like they're real go-getters. I'm not talking about anyone in particular, definitely not myself. I'm always up at 7 in the morning and jogging and whatever people do that get up early. Someone else says, discuss how to respond. A discussion will only take you so far, right? You gotta get started working on this thing. And someone else said, plan out a program, decide if we are Scrum Lords or Kanban losers. Yes, so you should be picking what is going to be your stand-up or meeting style for the rest of the semester and what's expected of all the participants in the meeting. Try to figure out how you're going to handle your get-togethers in your groups from here on out. You already have elected a Scrum Master, so I think you can leave it up to them, or you can try to work it out as a team. Any others? No? Nothing else? Alright, so what do I think you should do? Well, obviously I think you should start sketching out your program, getting a good idea of what it's going to look like, and one of the things that is central to the Agile design philosophy is to tell the stories of your stakeholders, see how their experience with your program is going to be. Try to figure out how this is going to be used, what's the process, what does that look like for your users, your end users, and their managers and the other kind of stakeholders. So let's start with the winner of the Guest Dr. Garage Spirit Animal contest. That's going to be Team Boxgang. Let's sketch out together a story for Boxgang. I'm going to turn off my video here because me staring at my desk is not that interesting. And if I'm drawing on my tablet, I can't also look at you. Okay, so what does it look like for Boxgang? If you remember, Boxgang was supposed to be planning out some sort of mechanism for packaging tape. So there's a bunch of boxes somewhere. Oh boy. Here we go. Oh, there's my problem. Alright. Somewhere out there is a bunch of boxes filled with tape. Yep. Those are some artistic skills right there. You notice I'm not using a real drawing app either. I'm using paint.net. And here we have a crap load of tape in different boxes on a big old shelf somewhere. And this tape sure is heavy. Okay. And your job is to get it out into the wide world. Okay, and that means you're going to pull individual pieces of tape out of different boxes, put them in a to-go container, and then ship it off to the dock. Okay, and somebody in the middle here, that's your user. That's the person who's packing up these boxes full of tape. That's a real rough idea of what's going on with Boxgang, right? Anyone have any more commentary beyond this very basic assertion of what it's going to be like for Boxgang and their end user? You probably do a little bit better than this, right? Okay, so let's think about what kind of list that these guys might have. Okay, what kind of items might they have? Let's say one roll of type A. Let's say 10 rolls of type B. And then so on and so forth, okay? What does it mean when you have 10 rolls of something and you're scanning barcodes in order to check out the piece of tape? So let's say you do pull off your system and there's a barcode on the side. So what do you do for 10? What do you do at the supermarket or wherever when you have 10 of an item? Well, some cashiers scan all 10 of them if they're identical. Some scan one item 10 times. If you allow that latter one, you are introducing the opportunity for some error there. So in that story is something to think about. So this presents a question you might not have thought about initially. What do you do when you have multiples? All right. They mentioned that their barcode printer is legacy. What does that mean? What could be a barcode? What does a barcode physically look like? I've got this as one example of what barcodes look like. There's also things like QR codes, whatever a QR code looks like. It's just different squares. You might want to do some research into why people adopted QR codes, how they're meant to replace barcodes. One of the biggest perks of the QR code is half of it can get lobbed off. I think the tolerance for damage depends on the exact kind of QR code and everything, but a good portion of it can get lobbed off and it still works. That's great in an industrial environment, but can their printer support it? That's the question. So those are the kinds of things you might learn sketching out systems like that. If you wanted to, you could get into more detail. You can start sketching out the relationship between systems. I am going to jump to the next team that I think got the spirit animal question right, which was the safety inspectors. Spirit animal is obviously the cuttlefish. Okay, so safety inspectors, you guys have a rough idea of how your thing works. There are some things around the factory. Let's call this a fire extinguisher. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Fire extinguisher, okay. And on it, it needs to have some kind of barcode as well. Alright, user scans the barcode with what? Okay, they've got some kind of tablet probably. We'll see about that. Is a tablet the right tool for this job? I don't know. It's a little bulky. Might be better if they had a hand scanner. If they do, it would connect to the tablet. So something to think about. Okay, so they scan the code. That's step 1. Step 2, what happens? What does it connect to? Where does it pull the information from that's going to be part of your application? Is it going to come from the cloud? The cloud. But really, is it going to come from the cloud? Is it going to come from a sheet? Google Sheets? Is it going to come from something internal to the database itself? Is it going to come from inside of it? Does each device have its own built-in thing of safety gear? Okay, how about the supervisor? Supervisor is somebody who wears a crown, fancy hat, because they're in charge. Okay, how does the supervisor add things to your database? How do they sign in? How do you authenticate these folks? These are things that you can start to think about as you free sketch your program and work ahead in it. So if you haven't gotten a response yet from your client, your customer, then I'd like you to first establish how you're going to handle your meetings from this week out. So starting next week, you should start having your weekly stand-up meeting or whatever. I'm going to go through the different channels as you talk about it, and I'm going to establish an order that you go in. So 2 of you are going to go Tuesday, 2 teams are going to go Tuesday, 1 is going to go on Thursday. I'll let you know what order you go in. And then the rest of class, just all of you guys, not just one of you should be the artiste, and the rest of you should watch. All of you guys should make at least one stupid sketch relating to your application. Do a little blurb about it as well so that you can refer back to what it is later. Post those in your team's chat and then discuss them and think about what kind of cool questions you've come up with that you're going to get back to the clients about, maybe mention in the meeting, or that you're just going to have to think about technologically that are going to be your problem. So make a sketch, write a blurb about it, and then discuss what sorts of problems and questions have come up. And if you have problems and questions you want to put a pin in or remember, put those in your chat as well. And again, I'm going to come around and bother you as always. So go on into your channels and start doing your thing. That's going to be it for the stream for today. And I'm going to come by and see where you're at. So see you guys in Discord.